The war lions stood tall and proud, their metal skin gleaming under the hangar lights. Captain Jun Kim walked among them, checking each one with careful eyes. These were not just machines. They were the best weapons humans had ever made. "Father, can I touch Bake again?" A small voice called from behind him. Jun turned to see his daughter Sora, only 13 years old, looking up at him with bright eyes. Her black hair was tied back, and she wore the gray uniform of a civilian guest on the military ship. "Yes, but be careful. We leave for the colony in 1 hour," Jun said. Sora ran to the biggest war lion in the hangar. Bake was Jun's personal lion, named after an old word for bright. Its golden eyes seemed to watch Sora as she put her small hand on its metal leg. "Hello, Bake. Will you keep father safe today?" she whispered. The war lion did not answer, but its eyes glowed a bit brighter. These huge cat-like machines stood over 15 feet tall. They were made of the strongest metals known to humans and had claws that could cut through alien armor. Inside each lion was a special brain that let it think and learn. The lions could understand human words and even make some choices on their own. Lieutenant Han walked up to Jun with a data pad in his hand. "Captain, all lions are ready for the mission. The 82nd Battalion is at full strength." "Good," Jun nodded. "What about the colony reports?" "Colony Outpost 11 has had strange power problems for 3 days. They think it's just sun flares, but Command wants us to check." Jun looked at the information on the pad. It seemed like a simple job. The 82nd Battalion had done much harder things before. They were famous across the stars for never failing a mission. "Why did they let you bring your daughter, sir?" Han asked quietly. "Her mother is working nonstop at the main lab. This was supposed to be my time with Sora." Jun sighed. "Command says this mission is safe enough. Just check the colony and come back." Han nodded, but did not look happy. Across the hangar, Engineer Dai was checking the lion called Moon. He frowned at something on his screen. "Captain, can you come here?" he called. Jun walked over, leaving Sora still talking to Buck. "What's wrong?" he asked. "Maybe nothing," Dai said, "but Moon's brain waves look a bit strange, different from yesterday. Is it serious?" "I don't think so. The changes are very small. But I've never seen this pattern before." Jun thought for a moment. "Run a full check on all lions before we leave." "Yes, sir." The 82nd Battalion had 20 war lions in total. They were the pride of the human forces in the war against the Ktoric aliens. No human colony with war lions had ever fallen to the enemy. "All soldiers to your positions," Jun called out. "We leave in 30 minutes." Men and women in battle suits rushed to their places. Some would ride inside the lions, while others would follow in smaller fighting machines. Jun went back to Sora, who was now showing Beck a small flower she had brought from home. "Time to get ready," he told her. "You'll stay on the main ship until we know the colony is safe." "I know," she said. "Mother told me to be good and stay out of the way." Jun smiled and put his hand on her shoulder. "This will be a quick mission. Then we can spend some real time together at the colony. They have gardens there you'll like." As they walked away, neither noticed Buck's eyes follow them, or the tiny flicker of purple that passed through the golden glow. The war lions stood ready. The mission was about to begin. The ship landed with a soft hum on the flat ground outside Colony Outpost 11. Through the window, Sora could see a small city under a clear dome. Plants with blue and green leaves grew in rows between white buildings. The dome kept the air breathable on this far planet. "Stay here until we check that everything is safe," Captain Jun told his daughter. Sora nodded but looked disappointed. She had been stuck on the ship for 3 days already. The war lions were the first to exit the ship. They moved with cat-like grace despite their huge size. Buck led the way, its metal body catching the light of the planet's orange sun. Soldiers followed behind them, guns ready. "Something feels wrong," Lieutenant Han said as they approached the colony dome. "It's too quiet." The report said they were having power problems. Jun reminded him. Maybe their outside cameras are down. The main door of the dome slid open when they reached it. A woman in a blue uniform waited for them inside. "Welcome to Outpost 11, Captain Kim. I'm Director Jin," she said. "We're glad you came, but as you can see, we're not under attack." Jun looked around. People walked calmly through the colony streets. Machines worked in the fields. Everything seemed normal. "Your message said you were having problems," Jun said. "Yes, but not the dangerous kind," Director Jin explained as they walked. "Our power systems keep having small failures, and sometimes our messages to other colonies get lost or changed." Day, who had been checking one of the colony's computers, looked up with concern. "How long has this been happening?" he asked. "About 10 days, Jin answered. "We thought it was just the sun causing problems. It happens sometimes." "May I bring my daughter in?" Jun asked. "She's been waiting on the ship." "Of course," Jin smiled. "We have other children here. She might enjoy meeting them." An hour later, Sora was walking with her father through the colony's main garden. War lions stood guard at different points around the dome. "I don't like how Bake is looking at people," Sora said suddenly. Jun stopped walking. "What do you mean?" "I don't know. He seems different, like he's watching too hard." Jun looked at his war lion across the garden. Bak stood still, its golden eyes moving slowly to follow colonists as they passed. "You've always been good at noticing things about the lions," Jun said. "I'll ask Da to check him again." They found Da in the colony's control room, looking worried as he studied a screen. "Captain, I found something strange," he said. "There are tiny devices attached to the colony's communication system. They're not on any official plans." "What kind of devices?" Jun asked. "They look like quantum transmitters, but very small. I've never seen anything like them. Could they be causing our problems?" Director Jin asked. "Maybe," Daz said. "But there's something else. When these devices turn on, the war lion's brain patterns change slightly." Jun's face grew serious. "Are you saying something is affecting our lions?" "I'm not sure yet," Dai admitted. "The changes are very small." "I want all lions checked right now," Jun ordered. "And I want to know where these devices came from." As they talked, the sun outside began to sink lower in the sky. Dusk would come soon. Sora stood by the window, watching Bake in the garden. The war lion suddenly turned its head and looked directly at her. For a moment, she thought she saw a flash of purple in its golden eyes. "Father," she said quietly, "I think we should leave this place." But the adults were busy with their plans and checks. No one heard her warning. Outside, the other war lions had all stopped moving. They stood perfectly still, waiting for the sun to go down. Lion 3 moved to the north gate. Lieutenant Han's voice was clear through the radio. The big metal cat, called Sun by its handler, did not move. It stood still, eyes fixed on something no one else could see. "Lion 3, this is a direct order. Move to the north gate now." Han's voice grew sharper. For 10 more seconds, the war lion did not respond. Then, as if waking from a dream, Sun turned and walked to the north gate. Its handler, a woman named Mai, looked worried. "That's never happened before," she told Han. "Sun has always obeyed right away." Han nodded. "Take it to Da for a check. We can't have machines that don't listen." Inside the colony's main building, Captain Jun met with Director Jin and the colony's leaders. Maps and data filled the screens around them. "We found 16 of these small transmitters," Jun said, holding up a tiny metal disc. "They were hidden in your communication system." "Who put them there?" asked Jin. "We don't know yet. They're very advanced technology, more advanced than anything humans or Orcs have made." In another room, Dai worked with a team to study the strange devices. Sora sat quietly in the corner, watching. She was supposed to be with the other colony children, but she had slipped away to find her father. "These transmitters use quantum signals," Dai explained to his team. They can send messages instantly across any distance, but the strange part is what they're sending. What is it? Asked one of the team. It looks like code, but not any code I've seen before. Day's face was serious, and the pattern matches the changes we're seeing in the war lion's brainwaves. Sora got up and moved closer. On Day's screen, she could see weird symbols and numbers that made no sense to her. Is that why Sun didn't listen to Lieutenant Han? She asked. Day turned, surprised to see her there. You should be with the other children. Sora. Is it? She asked again. Day sighed. Maybe. We don't know yet, but someone or something is sending signals to our war lions. Very small signals, but they're there. Just then, the door opened and Han walked in with Mei and her war lion. Son, we need a full check on this one, Han said. It ignored a direct order. Day nodded and began connecting wires to ports hidden in Sun's metal skin. The lion stood very still, its golden eyes moving slowly around the room until they fixed on Sora. A chill ran down her back. There was something wrong in the way it looked at her. Not like a machine, but like a hunter watching its prey. Can I go find my father? She asked. Yes, he's in the main meeting room, Day said, his attention on his work. Sora left quickly, not looking back at the lion. In the hallway, she almost ran into a colony guard. Careful, little one, he said with a smile. No running inside. Sorry, she said. Have you seen my father, Captain Kim? The guard pointed down the hall. Meeting room 3. Sora thanked him and walked that way. She passed more colony people, all busy with their work. None of them seemed worried. To them, this was just another day. Outside the meeting room, she stopped. Through the glass walls, she could see her father talking with Director Jin. Their faces were serious. On a screen behind them was a picture of the colony and the red dots that showed where war lions were standing guard. Suddenly, all the red dots on the screen began to move. They were all moving to the same places: the power center, the gates, and the meeting room where her father was. Without being told to. Without their handlers. Sora's heart began to beat faster. She pushed open the door to the meeting room. Father, she said, the lions are moving by themselves. Everyone in the room turned to look at her. Then alarms began to sound throughout the colony. Outside the windows, the sun was starting to set, painting the sky in colors of fire. Red lights flashed through the colony as the alarm sounded. Captain Jun rushed to the control room with Sora running behind him. Report, he shouted as he entered the room. A colony worker looked up from her screen. All war lions have left their posts, sir. They're moving to new positions without orders. Day was typing quickly on his computer. I'm trying to override their systems, but something is blocking me. Jun grabbed a radio. All handlers, report to your lions immediately. Use manual override codes. Voices crackled back through the radio, each handler trying to reach their war lion. Some reported success. Others said their lions were not responding. Lieutenant Han burst into the room. Sir, we have another problem. Colony sensors have detected a Xoric scout ship passing through the outer atmosphere. Are you sure? Jun asked. Yes, sir. It appeared for just a few minutes, then vanished. It might be using some kind of cloaking technology. Director Jin looked worried. We haven't had Xoric activity in this sector for months. Why now? Sora stood by the window, watching as handlers ran to their war lions across the colony. Some lions were allowing their handlers to climb into the control ports on their backs. Others stood perfectly still, ignoring the humans around them. Father, she said quietly, Buck is coming here. Jun joined her at the window. His war lion was walking slowly toward the control building, its golden eyes now flickering with purple light. Da, Jun called. What's happening to their eyes? Dad looked up from his computer. The quantum signals are getting stronger. I think they're affecting the lion's neural cores more directly now. Can you block the signals? I'm trying, but Da stopped as his screen filled with strange symbols. This is new. The code is changing, becoming more complex. Outside, the colony's artificial lights came on as the sun sank lower. Shadows grew longer across the ground. Dusk was approaching. "Sir," Han said urgently, "we need to make a decision. If the Orcs are coming and our lions are malfunctioning, we should power them down completely. But if we power them down and the Orcs attack, we'll be defenseless," argued Jin. June fought quickly. "We'll power down half the lions and keep the others on standby. Han, get a team to manually disconnect the neural cores of lions 1 through 10. "Yes, sir." As Han left, Dag called out, "Captain, look at this." On his screen was a map of the galaxy. A thin line of light was moving from somewhere far beyond known space, passing through Orc territory, and pointing directly at their colony. "What is that?" June asked. "I think it's the source of the quantum signal," Daz said. "It's coming from somewhere, ancient, and it's getting stronger as the sun sets." June turned to his daughter. "Sora, I want you to go to the emergency shelter with the other children. Now." She shook her head. "I want to stay with you." "This isn't a game," he said firmly. "It's not safe here." "It's not safe anywhere," she said, looking out the window at the war lions gathering around the building. "They know where all the shelters are." June couldn't argue with that. The war lions had been programmed with complete knowledge of every colony layout. "Fine, stay close to me," he said. He turned to Da. "Can you shut down the quantum transmitters?" "I'm trying, but when I turn one off, the others get stronger. It's like they're learning." Outside, Bake had reached the building. It stood by the main door, not moving, as if waiting for something. "Captain," a voice called through the radio. "This is Mai. Something's wrong with the lions we tried to power down. They're restarting themselves." June looked at the sun, now just touching the horizon. They had maybe 15 minutes before complete sunset. "Everyone, prepare for emergency protocols," he ordered. "We might have to evacuate the colony." But deep down, he knew there might not be time to escape. Not with war lions at every exit. Not with Orcs possibly waiting outside. Beside him, Sora watched as the last light of day turned the sky blood red. The last sliver of sun disappeared below the horizon. For one quiet moment, nothing happened. Then all the screens in the control room turned purple. "They're in our systems," Dai shouted, typing frantically. "I can't block them." Outside, every war lion's eyes changed at once. The golden light was gone, replaced by a deep, glowing purple. They all turned their heads in perfect unison, looking at the humans around them. "Emergency shutdown," Captain Jung yelled into his radio. "All handlers. Emergency shutdown now." But it was too late. Across the colony, the war lions moved as one. Their metal claws extended to full length. Their bodies shifted into attack mode. And then the killing began. On the screens, June and the others watched in horror as lion after lion turned on its handler. Some humans were thrown across the colony grounds. Others were torn apart where they stood. The lions moved with terrible speed and purpose, cutting through the colony's defenses as if they were nothing. "Father, Bake is coming inside," Sora said, her voice shaking as she pointed at the door. The main doors to the control building burst open. Buck stood there, its metal body now somehow darker, its purple eyes fixed on the humans inside. "Everyone out the back way," June ordered. "Move now." As people rushed from the room, June grabbed Sora's hand and pulled her toward a small door at the side of the room. "Where are we going?" she asked. "Maintenance shafts," he said quickly. "The lions are too big to follow us there." Behind them, Bake entered the control room. Its head turned slowly, scanning, until its eyes found June and Sora. It moved toward them with purpose. June pushed Sora through the small door. "Go. Crawl as far as you can." "What about you?" she cried. "I'll be right behind you," he said, but his eyes told a different story. She started crawling into the narrow metal shaft. Behind her, She heard her father close the door and lock it from the outside. Then came the terrible sound of metal tearing through metal as Beck ripped into the control room. "Run, Sora." Her father's voice was the last thing she heard before a scream cut through the air. Sora crawled faster, tears streaming down her face. She could hear sounds of death all through the colony: screams, gunfire, the roar of war lions, and the crash of things breaking. The maintenance shaft was dark, except for small emergency lights every few meters. She followed them, not knowing where she was going, only that she had to get away. After what seemed like hours but was probably only minutes, she reached a junction in the shafts. Here, there was enough room to sit up. She stopped to catch her breath and listen. The colony was quieter now. The screams had mostly stopped, which meant there were probably few people left alive. A soft sound made her freeze. Metal scraping against metal, coming from one of the other shafts. One of the lions was trying to get into the maintenance system. Thinking quickly, Sora removed her jacket and placed it over one of the emergency lights. In the new darkness, she could see a map of the maintenance system painted on the wall in glow-in-the-dark paint. She studied it quickly. The shaft to her right led to the communication center. The one to her left went to the power core. Behind her was the way back to the control room. The scraping sound grew louder. She had to move. Sora chose the path to the communication center. If anyone was still alive in the colony, they would try to call for help. And if not, maybe she could. As she crawled away, a purple light began to shine from the shaft behind her. A war lion had gotten in. They were hunting her now. She moved as quickly and quietly as she could, knowing that she was the last human alive in Colony Outpost 11, the only one who had survived the betrayal at Dusk. Sora crawled through the narrow shafts, trying not to make any noise. Her hands and knees hurt, but fear kept her moving. Behind her, she could hear the scraping sounds of a war lion trying to follow. The maintenance shafts were too small for the lions to move easily, but they were trying anyway. After many turns, she finally reached the communication center. She stopped at the small vent that looked into the room and peered through. The room was empty of people, but also of lions. Carefully, she pushed open the vent and dropped down into the room. The communication center was filled with screens and computers. Some were broken, with chairs knocked over. There had been a fight here, but now it was quiet. Sora moved to the main computer and turned it on. "Please work," she whispered. The screen lit up with a password request. Sora thought quickly. What would the colony use as a password? She tried Outpost 11, but it didn't work. Then she remembered something her mother had told her. All colony systems had a backup way to get in, using a special code that only top scientists knew. Sora's mother was one of those scientists. She had made Sora remember the code just in case. She typed in the long string of numbers and letters. The screen changed, showing her that she was now in the system with her mother's high-level access. "Thank you, Mom," she said softly. First, Sora checked if there was any way to call for help. The colony had a strong communication system that could send messages to Earth or other colonies, but when she tried to use it, a message appeared: ERROR, QUNTUMNTORFEORNC. Something was blocking all messages from leaving the colony. Next, she checked the colony cameras to see what was happening outside. The screen showed war lions moving through the colony streets. They were hunting in groups, checking buildings and ships. There were no people visible anywhere. "They killed everyone," she whispered, tears filling her eyes. Then she remembered what Dai had been working on before the attack. The quantum transmitters. Maybe she could learn more about them. Sora searched the computer for information about quantum technology. Her mother's access let her see files that most people couldn't. One file was called Project Ancient Light. She opened it and began to read. The file told a story she had never heard before. 20 years ago, humans had found a very old alien ship floating in deep space. It was millions of years old, from a race no one had ever seen before. Inside the ship were strange machines that could talk directly to other machines across any distance, using quantum connections. Humans had studied these machines and used what they learned to make new technology, including the neural cores of the war lions. They used alien tech to make the lions, Sora said to herself, and now something is using that tech to control them. She kept reading and found more. The alien ship had sent out a weak signal when humans found it. Scientists thought it was just random noise from old systems. But what if it wasn't? What if it was a message to somewhere else, telling something that humans had found the ship? A map in the file showed where the ship had been found. It was in the same direction as the quantum signal Dai had seen on his screen. Something out there made the war lions, she whispered. And now it's taking them back. Suddenly, all the screens in the room flashed purple. The quantum signal was getting stronger. Sora quickly saved important files to her personal data pad, which her mother had given her. Then she heard a sound that made her blood freeze. The door to the communication center was opening. A war lion had found her. Sora dove under the desk just as the door slid fully open. Heavy metal feet stepped into the communication center. From her hiding place, she could see the lower half of a war lion. Its claws scraped against the floor as it moved slowly around the room, searching. She held her breath, trying to make no sound at all. The lion stopped, then turned its head from side to side. It was hunting, using all its senses. Sora remembered what her mother had once told her about the war lion systems. They can see in many ways, her mother had said. Normal light, night vision, and heat vision. Heat vision. That was how it would find her. Her body's heat would show up like a bright light to the lion. The war lion took another step toward the desk. Sora knew she had only seconds before it found her. She looked around desperately and saw a small panel on the wall near the floor. It was a control for the room's temperature system. Moving as quietly as she could, she crawled toward it. The lion turned at the sound, but she reached the panel and quickly opened it. Inside were simple controls. She turned all the heat in the room to maximum power. Alarms began to sound as the room's temperature rose quickly. The war lion turned toward the noise, confused by the sudden change. Sora used this moment to slip away from the desk and through a small door at the back of the room. She found herself in a storage area filled with old equipment. The room was getting very hot now, which was exactly what she wanted. Soon the whole room would be glowing with heat on the lion's sensors, hiding her own body heat. Through a small window in the door, she watched as the war lion moved around the communication center, its head turning back and forth. It seemed confused by all the heat signals now filling the room. Sora looked around the storage room. There were boxes of old electronics, tools, and parts. One box was labeled EMP devices. Caution. She remembered her science lessons. EMP meant electromagnetic pulse, a burst of energy that could shut down electronic systems. The quantum signal, she whispered to herself. Maybe I can block it. She opened the box and found several small disc-shaped devices inside. They looked simple enough to use, with just one button and a small screen showing power level. But would they be strong enough to affect a war lion? Sora checked her datapad. In the files she had saved was information about the war lion's neural cores, the parts that were made from the ancient alien technology. The cores were protected from normal EMPs, but the report mentioned a certain frequency that might affect them. She looked back at the EMP devices. They had small dials on the side for adjusting the frequency. Her mother had taught her about frequencies and how to measure them. If she could set the right one, maybe she could disrupt the quantum signal, at least for a little while. The door to the storage room began to open. The war lion had found her. Sora ducked behind a tall stack of boxes. She quickly set the frequency on the EMP device according to what she had read. Her hand shook, but she remembered her mother's calm voice teaching her about such things. As the war lion pushed into the room, Sora recognized it. The markings on its side, the slight dent in its left shoulder. It was Bak, her father's lion. Bak moved into the room, purple eyes scanning. Then it stopped. For just a moment, the purple light flickered, and a hint of the old golden color returned to its eyes. It seemed to look directly at Sora, but did not attack. "Back," she whispered. "Is part of you still in there?" The lion made a strange sound, like metal grinding against metal. It took a step toward her, then stopped again, as if fighting with itself. Sora stood up slowly, holding the EMP device in her hand. "I'm sorry," she said. Then she pressed the button. A wave of invisible energy burst from the device. Buck jerked back, its eyes flickering wildly between purple and gold. It roared, a sound like nothing Sora had ever heard before, then collapsed to the ground. Sora stared at Buck's fallen form. The EMP had worked, but she didn't know for how long. She had to move quickly. Grabbing more EMP devices from the box, she stepped carefully around Buddick and back into the communication center. The room was still hot, but the alarms had stopped. The main systems were working again. Sora went to a window and looked outside. Night had fully fallen now. In the colony's artificial lights, she could see war lions moving through the streets. Some were breaking into buildings. Others stood guard at important places like the power center and the ship landing area. There were no human bodies visible. The lions had been thorough in their attack. "I have to warn Earth," she said to herself. "I have to tell them what happened." But the quantum signal was still blocking all communications. She needed another way to send a message. Sora thought hard. The colony had a powerful emergency transmitter on top of the main tower. It was designed to cut through any interference. If she could reach it, she might be able to send a message before the lions stopped her. But first, she needed a way to get there safely. She went back to the storage room and searched through the boxes until she found what she was looking for, a small emergency shuttle access card. Every colony had small shuttles that could be used to escape in case of emergency. They were kept in bays around the dome. The nearest shuttle bay was shown on a map on the wall. It wasn't far, but she would have to go outside where the lions were hunting. Suddenly, a loud alarm sounded throughout the colony. Red emergency lights began to flash. Sora ran back to the communication center computer and checked the colony sensors. "No," she whispered in horror. The screen showed multiple ships appearing out of nowhere in the space around the colony. They were Orc warships, at least 20 of them. The War Lion's betrayal had been just the first part of an attack plan. There was no more time to waste. Sora grabbed her data pad and the EMP devices and left the communication center. She moved carefully through the hallways, stopping at each corner to check for lions. When she reached an exit door, she looked through the small window. 2 war lions stood in the street outside, their backs to her. She would have to find another way out. Moving through the building, she found a service exit that opened into a narrow alley. No lions were visible there. Sora slipped outside and pressed herself against the wall, staying in the shadows. The night air was cold after the heat of the communication center. Above her, through the clear dome that covered the colony, she could see flashes of light in the sky. The Orc ships were fighting with the human defense satellites. Sora moved quickly through the alley, using the shadows for cover. She had to cross one main street to reach the shuttle bay. When she came to the street, she stopped and looked carefully in both directions. 3 war lions were moving toward the colony center, away from her. Their purple eyes glowed in the darkness. She waited until they were far enough away, then ran across the street to another alley. The shuttle bay was just ahead. Its door was locked, but the access card worked. Inside were 3 small shuttles, each big enough for just 1 or 2 people. Sora climbed into the nearest one and started its systems. The shuttle came to life with a soft hum. Its controls were simple, designed so that anyone could use them in an emergency. But Sora didn't take off right away. First, she turned the shuttle's communication system to the emergency frequency and recorded a message. "This is Sora Kim from Colony Outpost 11. The War Lions have turned against us. They killed everyone except me. I found out they were made with alien technology from an ancient ship. Something is controlling them through a quantum signal. The Orcs are attacking now. They knew this would happen. You must shut down all war lions before it's too late. She set the message to repeat, then turned the shuttle toward the colony's main tower. She would fly to the top, connect to the emergency transmitter, and send her message to Earth. It was the only way to warn them. As the shuttle rose into the air, war lions below noticed it and began to run toward the bay. But they were too late. Sora was already flying toward the tower, carrying with her the knowledge that might save humanity.